Well, I don't know if any of you've ever fallen in love, but I know I have. Welcome back to the channel, y'all. If you're new to the channel, welcome. And I hope this is a helpful video for whoever sees it, but stick around for the whole thing. I'm sitting in Washington Park in Portland, in the Shakespeare Garden, in the Rose Garden here in Portland, and it's beautiful. Um, Today I wanted to talk about love and the journeys that love can send us on, right? Because they can send us on these really beautiful, sometimes painful journeys. Um, you know, I talked about how Portland called to me 18 years ago, and I didn't know why. But I swore I was meant to be here for some reason, and it took me 18 years to get here. And maybe 2 years ago, I think I found part of the reason why I was supposed to go to Portland, and I didn't find it in Portland. I found a person. I met a person that that I fell in love with, and I didn't expect to at a time in my life that I didn't expect to meet somebody that I'd fall in love with. And it was a type of love that I didn't think existed. It was a person that made me feel safe. It was a person that I let in to see portions of me that I didn't even allow myself to be, actually, at a lot of times in my life. And the problem with that was that I was not in a place in my life to maintain that. Not because I couldn't be that person that I was showing, but that I wasn't comfortable with being vulnerable like that. I wasn't, like a lot of us may experience at points in time in our lives. I had for so long sheltered that person out from other people seeing, including myself, that once it came to the surface and I started to allow somebody else to see it and allow myself to experience it, it was terrifying. And as a result of fear, that fear that came along with realizing I was vulnerable and authentic in moments that I wasn't used to, I self-sabotaged the situation. So I want to talk about love and how the beautiful part of what it can show us is that when we truly let ourselves love somebody else, that involves truly loving ourselves. We can't really love somebody to the depth and capacity that they deserve until we start to love ourselves, or when we allow ourselves to love ourselves at that same depth and capacity. The person that I fell in love with was very unexpected. And despite other people not understanding or not believing that it could be something that was real or that that person was right for me, none of that mattered. And all of those sensations, all of those feelings that came up from within me were feelings and sensations and a love that it didn't matter what other people said, because it didn't change that perspective. But until I was going to be able to relinquish the fear that was within me of showing that person myself and knowing myself or becoming myself, I wasn't going to be able to sustain that relationship. That relationship ultimately ended. That other person couldn't be around me because I couldn't be around myself in the capacity they needed. And I talk a lot about self-love. That relationship ultimately opened me up to a lot of things that I had to let go of, right? Things that I didn't even like about myself that were holding me back from being my best self. And a lot of that was things or were things that had been accumulated over a long period of time through past relationships, through this person I had built up incrementally over time to survive. Beautiful thing about this type of self-love that I was opened up to is that we all need it and we all have the ability to do it. And as soon as we can, as soon as we start to let go of the things that we think are necessary but aren't actually us, we become this beautiful version of ourselves that can connect with people in a capacity that we couldn't before. We allow ourselves this freedom to operate without judgment or without expectation of other people accepting it, because we're accepting ourselves for who we are. Part of coming to Portland for me was reconnecting with all these pieces of myself that I wasn't connecting with. My love for being outdoors, my love for photography, my love for being this romantic sap. I love romantic movies. Um, I love roses. I'm in the perfect place, even though there aren't any right now. All of these things were things that I was meant to reconnect with here in Portland, regardless of if I get to share it with a specific person, even if I want to. This journey has become about loving myself just as much as it became about loving another person. And I had to let go the attachment of having that person in my life before I could really enjoy things like this actual trip. And although I'm rambling a little bit, the point I'm trying to make, and the point that I hope rings true for some of you if you are connecting with this, is that when you really fall in love in a capacity that you feel like is the true love that you always wanted, you always dreamt of, embrace that. Even if that means that that person isn't with you, and embrace that love to embark on a journey of self-exploration, to love yourself, become yourself, and let go of all the things that have been holding you back, all the things that you brought in to yourself because somebody else needed it from you, or because you felt like you needed it to be accepted. Let go of those things. Let a journey of self-exploration and self-love become the driving force for who you are. You get to become this ever-changing, ever-evolving new person every day. And without the attachment to a specific person in that love, just holding that space for them, knowing that they showed you or taught you the true potential that you have. You now know that. The more you can live in that, the more you can hold space for yourself in that love and for them. The more you realize that everything's going to be okay. You'll connect with that love again, that type of love, because you're allowing yourself to live in it. You're allowing yourself to give yourself that. When you give yourself that love and you embark on your journey to change and accept who you are for who you are. You step into this huge unknown and you just blossom like these cherry blossoms. I know that sounds cliche, and I know some of this probably sounds cheesy, but it means something to me. And I have a feeling that it may mean something to some of you if you're connecting with this. Love is a beautiful thing that can bring us to our knees, but it's also a beautiful thing that can bring us up out of the worst of our moments. My love story started probably 2 years ago. My true love story started with another person, and then it continued alone with myself. And that's the most important part. You're going through a hard time that involved losing somebody that you really deeply cared about, that you want to reconnect with. Before you ever reconnect with that person, before you can, rather, consider that maybe the most important part of that is loving yourself the way that you want to love that person. Maybe all that stuff just kind of falls into place. I hope somebody needed to hear this. Maybe this was just about me telling a story about how I fell in love. Somebody happens to connect with it. I don't know. But I do hope somebody needed to hear this. I appreciate you guys watching. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel or just hit the like button. Maybe leave me a comment. Keep making the videos. I look forward to talking to you guys later. Have a good rest of your day, y'all.